Um, hey, so I got a question on Tumblr about what stuff that I use. So I thought I would just make a video because it's just easier. And also, if you're asking me about like materials, it's just easier for me to like just show you my stuff rather than write a novel about it. So my main brush, my main type of brush that I use is hang on. These little like I think they're a quarter inch filbert hog bristle brushes, and they're all different colors because I just use them for the same colors, um, and I stick them into my block of wood. You can buy a brush holder that's like this at the store for like $30. Or you could go to a different store and buy an electric drill and a piece of wood for about the same price, and then you still get to have the electric drill. So just buy a drill. First of all, buy a drill. Okay, so got those ones. I have the same shape and the same type, but this is a Rosemary and Co. synthetic filbert, which is a bit finer. This one isn't the rest of my filberts are like basically color locked, so I'll use it for the dark one I'll use only for dark colors and etc. But the synthetic one is just I kind of just use it for whatever. And then I've got a couple of other hog bristle brushes. These are half-inch ones. This one's a filbert. This one's a flat. They basically do the same thing. I kind of prefer the flat, to be honest. But anyway, and then I just got this another Rosemary and Co. synthetic and its larger cousin. So these are called Rosemary and Co. ivory daggers, and they're fun. I'm still kind of like trying it out. I like the half-inch one better than the big one, but I'll get used to it. I'll get used to this one, and it doesn't go in my block because it's too wide. So I have to use my drill that I own and make one of these holes wider. I have some fan brushes. This fan brush, I basically don't, you can't see it, there. I basically don't ever use this one. Someday I'll use it, I don't know. But I do use this fan brush, which you can see has like barely any hairs left. And that's what I use to make like grass type markings. It's like really busted. So you can make a lot of interesting marks with that. And my little plastic pipette, which I use to move my medium around. Oh, and I have this little mini micro small brush, which I use to sign things and also to punish myself for the crime of having been born. Oh, this is important. Gloves. You really shouldn't touch paints that have actual real pigments in them, because cadmium, etc., they are not good for you. So don't touch them with your bare skin. Just don't do that. It's not healthy. Anyway, where's my trash can? I have a couple of these palettes that I made. You can see this one's like well used. My other one is. Got two identical ones of these, and then which is plastic that I drilled some holes in carefully with my electric drill, which is probably the most useful tool for painting. And then just like put it together with some bolts on some wood that I painted sort of a grayish color. This one I didn't have enough bolts for, so it just opens on one side. And then I recently just got myself a piece of glass, and so now I have this a nice piece of glass to paint on, which I kind of prefer, and it feels nice. But I'll still use these ones because I'm always going to need to have a surface to put my blobs onto. Okay, anyway, oh, and my rag table, which I wipe all my paint off on. move my picture out of the way. It's my reference print. It's a lot easier to paint from a printed reference than off of a computer, I have found. So it's a handy tip for you. Anyway, so color-wise, so there's two like levels of oil paint. There's like oil color, which is student grade, and then there's, or what is it? Yeah, anyway, it's whatever. Anyway, it's and then there's also artist's oil color, and it is quite expensive, but it works better than the student grade one. My cat is gonna be in the hallway yelling. Anyway, so I basically don't really have any like brand loyalty, except for when it comes to burnt umber. I prefer the Winsor & Newton, this one. The Winsor & Newton brown umber is darker than the M gram burnt umber. So I basically have all M gram except for the burnt umber, which I have in Winsor & Newton. It's just darker for some reason. I don't know what to say. I don't, you know. Whatever. Anyway, so I still use this for like other brown, but like when you have to mix black, you should really get a properly dark one. Anyway, so my main regular colors are these. I will hold them up in a minute. So I have kind of like a main, what do you call it? Like a restricted palette or something, or I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I have like 5 colors that I use regularly for basically everything, and then I have other colors, like a second collection of colors for when I need something to be like really whatever color. So my 5 main colors are titanium white, which you should buy in the large version. You should buy the large white because you're going to be using more white than any other color. I just have this one because it was they were sold out of the big ones. So titanium white, burnt umber, French ultramarine. It's like the darkest blue you can get. Alizarin permanent. It's important that it's permanent because a regular alizarin crimson is like not archival. It just like stop being red after a while. So you want to get alizarin permanent for your like. It's like a dark cool red. And cadmium yellow pale. And I've used a lot of different yellows, and I actually used 2 yellows on my palette, but this is the one that's in my like I forget the word for what are this anyway. I forget what you call the palette with only 5 colors. Well, whatever. Anyway, so those are my main colors that I use, and then I supplement that. Put all these back where they belong. I supplement those colors with my second row of colors, which I basically never ever use. So I have it in like little rainbow order, which is the correct order. It's just more convenient to have it in the rainbow order. So well, I'll just show you one at a time. Okay, so first, quinacridone magenta. Pretty useful if you're going to be painting purple or purple things or flowers, or sometimes like certain skin tones and certain, you know, it's like a pinky purpley color. And then we got cadmium red light, which is like my supplemental red, which I barely use. Hansa yellow, which is like it's like closer to the green side of yellow. Barely use it. Sap green. It's green. green as hell. And another green, got phthalo green, which I'll use this someday, I bet. Cobalt teal, I actually do, I do have some of this on my palette. It's for, it's just a cool color. I picked it up because Andrew Tischler has it and uses it a lot, and I like the effect that it does for him, so I picked that one up. And phthalo blue, which is the color that you will never, ever, ever run out of, because one molecule of phthalo blue like just takes your whole color out and it makes it all blue. So those are my colors. Oh, and I have as well cadmium yellow deep, which I kind of am now putting in my main one just out of convenience, because I don't want to have to mix red into everything every single time. But basically, so that's like my basic colors that I have, and I also have flake white hue. I was trying to get real flake white, but again, it was on the day that they had sold out of like everything. Because I went after like Black Friday, I didn't realize it was Black Friday, and then I like go into the shop and they just like didn't have anything. I was like, what the hell? Anyway, I figured the hue will just do the same job, and next time I'll just buy the real thing. Mediums. Let me get my mediums out. I have it on my rag table. So I primarily use a 50-50 mix of Gamsol and linseed oil for basically everything, and people will all have their opinions about what they want and what, whatever. That's what I prefer to use, although I am thinking of going back into Liquid Original. I started with Liquid Original when I just started painting, and it's kind of it just really stinks. You really have to be like properly ventilated to use this stuff, and I just like don't have great ventilation in here, so I don't really use this stuff unless I'm painting like on location, which I also rarely do, but maybe someday. I also have safflower oil, and this oil I only use to preserve my brushes, because I don't clean my brushes. I never clean them. So I just, every time I'm done, you saw me unwrap the brushes with the plastic wrap. I just dip them all, well, I like wipe as much of the paint off as I can, and then I'll dip them all in the safflower oil. And safflower is like one of the longest, it takes it forever to dry, basically. And I paint like every other day, ideally, so I don't really have to, it's just a waste of time to wash my brushes. But yeah. Oh, and then as far as like surfaces go, if I'm doing like just like a fast painting, or if I'm just doing something or noodling around or whatever, I'll use like a panel. And I had panels around, but now I'm set up for painting, so everything's all over the place. Anyway, I'll use panels sometimes, cotton canvas panels. They're really convenient because you don't have to tape it to anything, or like you don't have to do anything. It's just like stable, so that's nice. I'm gonna put this over here. But other than that, I really only use Belgian linen canvases, and the reason is that I prefer it. And I prefer it because the weave of the canvas is more like subtle than cotton canvas. And then like cotton canvas is like this, so you're gonna have a lot more like light refraction coming off, and like it basically is just gonna make your painting have a lot of reflection spots, and it just makes it harder to look at it. Whereas this is like sort of more gently curved, so the light doesn't do that so much. Also, sometimes on like TV, if somebody's wearing a shirt with like really small or like really fine like striped shirt, it can sort of make that like wiggly like thing that happens. I don't know what it's called, but that can also happen to paintings, and it just sucks to do a painting and then you photograph it, and in the photograph it has like this optical illusion on it, which makes it really hard to look at, So that's why I like to use linen. Oh, and I use a lot of rags as well. This is like an old pair of pants that I cut up. Because and you know, usually I would use like there's this blue shop towel that like soaks in oil really nicely. Uh, but I ran out, and then I am, you know, I'm pretty cheap, so I'm gonna use these old rags until I run out of them, and then I'll get some more shop towels. Anyway, that's my answer to what stuff I use. I forgot to mention my knife that I use for mixing and sometimes other paint handling stuff. It is, I forget the, I'll put it in like the bottom or whatever, because I forget the exact model, but it is Connoisseur brand, and it is this shape. And the last of these knives that I had before took me a good like 5 or 6 years to break it, so it's pretty good, and it has a nice like bend. It bends, and you can really manipulate your paint with it. So very useful. Use a knife.